Hey everybody, Andrew Edwards here from GearLive.com. Hope you're doing well out there. Apple just announced two brand new iPhones in the iPhone 5C and the iPhone 5S, and I'm going to give you a breakdown of my thoughts on both devices. Stay tuned. Alright guys, welcome to Bleeding Edge TV. I'm Andrew Edwards. This is the show that brings you tech news through the eyes of GearLive.com. Today I'm going to give you my thoughts on the new Apple smartphones, the iPhone 5S and the iPhone 5C. There actually is a little bit of controversy, as there is every year when Apple introduces a new iPhone model. You know, they can't make everyone happy, but I do think this year they're going to make the majority of people happy, and they're going to sell a lot of iPhones. Now, the difference this year, though, is I think they're going to sell more of the lower cost iPhone 5C model than the higher, the typical, you know, the iPhone 5S, the top of the line model. I think this year they're really going for the mid-level, the $99 purchasers with the 5C, as evidenced by the fact that when you go to Apple.com, the first thing that pops up is the iPhone 5C. It's not the iPhone 5S. Usually, when you go to Apple.com after a major announcement, the first thing you see is is what they want to show you, and what they want to show you is the iPhone 5C right now. Now, if you go over, you still get to the 5S. It's there. iOS 7, obviously another huge thing for Apple. They're redesigning the entire OS, and then iTunes Radio. But, and again, there's actually a cool little effect here as we go back. Now it's red. When you leave the iPhone 5C page and then return to it, now it's green. Let's see, white. So it basically matches up the colors of the different iPhone 5C models. But let's talk about what those devices are. Before we do, we want to just thank our sponsor very quickly, Monster. Monster allows us to bring you videos such as this one. They make great consumer level headphones like these that I have on right now. These are the Monster DNA headphones. These are neon DNA, and as you can see, they're orange and yellow. I like the orange because that's Gear Live colors right there. The cool thing about the DNA headphones is they have this interesting ear cup shape. It's triangular right there, so when you're wearing it, it's not the typical round ear cup that you find on pretty much every other headphone. Of course, on the inside it's round because, you want it to be comfortable, but it's more stylized on the outside there, two-tone. They have a bunch of different colors and patterns even, so that you can customize the look and feel of your Monster DNA headphone. So that's Monster. Check them out, monsterproducts.com. Now, let's start out with the iPhone 5C. Obviously, Apple is making a play at the younger crowd as well as the older crowd, people that don't care so much about the specs and features of their phone, but they want a cool looking phone that they know works. A lot of people out there still have not yet purchased their first smartphone, and bringing in the iPhone 5C at $99 is going to put Apple, a new device that Apple can advertise in front of people. I'd say, well, they've always had a $99 phone, at least for the past few years. They've had a $99 phone. They usually drop last year's model down to $99 and the 2-year-old model down to free. Now that is true, but the difference is whenever they did that, they never advertised those older models anymore, at least not in TV commercials. They would always advertise the top-end phone, and then when you went into a store, or if you were, a techie and you were just in the know, you would realize that there was also a $99 iPhone from last year and then the free one from 2 years ago. This year, with the iPhone 5C being a new product, they're going to have advertisements, they're going to have this in magazines, they're going to have it on TV. You're going to see this product everywhere, including, as I showed you a minute ago, right on Apple.com. So they're really able to promote their $99 offering in a way that they've never really been able to do before. Now, what does the phone have in it? What makes it a 5C? Basically, the iPhone 5C is an iPhone 5 inside of a plastic shell. That really is, the easiest way to explain it. It doesn't have any more features than the iPhone 5 had, at least not that the consumer will really notice. It has a little bit of a bigger battery. It can connect to more LTE bands, but that doesn't really matter unless you're traveling. And the front camera has been slightly improved with a backside illumination. That's really it. So aside from those things, if those things don't matter to you, it's basically an iPhone 5 in a plastic shell. Now the plastic shell is not some cheap, flimsy plastic shell. Like, I'm not a fan of the Samsung Galaxy S3 and /S4 line, specifically because the plastic on those phones feels super thin. It feels like you can crack it. I'm more a fan of the thicker plastic shells that you'll find on like the Nokia Lumia line, where it feels very sturdy and it's not going to break. Even if you drop it, it doesn't feel like it's going to crack. It's nice, sturdy plastic, and that's the kind of plastic they're using here on the iPhone 5C. It's more sturdy even than the plastic used on previous iPhones when they had the iPhone 3G and 3GS. Those were plastic devices where the plastic just wasn't as strong as it is now. So it's one solid unibody piece of plastic. The back and the sides are all one piece, unlike the iPhone 5 and iPhone 5S and iPhone 4 and iPhone 4S. It's all one piece, the back and sides, one piece of plastic, thick, durable plastic. Multicolors, it comes in green, red, actually I think it's pink now. So it's green, pink, white, yellow, and blue. So you have a choice between 5 colors on an iPhone for the first time. My iPhone 5 here is orange, but Apple didn't make it that way. I actually had to go through a service called anostyle.com to get this custom anodized, which, you know, gets a lot of comments. People always wonder how I got an orange iPhone. Now let's get to the iPhone 5S. Before we do, we want to thank our sponsor, Audible.com, the leading provider of premium digital spoken audio information and entertainment on the internet. We actually have a free offer for you guys. This is a unique deal specifically for you guys. It's not available at Audible.com on their main website or anywhere else. You get it here on Bleeding Edge TV. What you want to do is go to audiblepodcast.com and you're going to get a free downloadable audiobook. And today I'm actually recommending, since we're on the topic of Apple and iPhones, pick up Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. Now, I read the book myself and it was excellent, but the audiobook is actually read to you and it's free. You should check it out. If you're a fan of Apple, if you're a fan of Steve Jobs, or if you're just a fan of the tech world in general and tech history, it's a really good read. Check it out, audiblepodcast.com/bleeding edge to get your free copy. If you don't want to listen to that book, Audible has over 100,000 other books you can choose from pretty much every genre you can think of. Use audiblepodcast.com/bleeding edge to get your free copy of an audiobook plus a 30-day free trial of the Audible service. Now, let's move on to the iPhone 5S. So the iPhone 5S has 3 features that Apple really wanted to hit home yesterday. And also new colors, which is not really a feature, but it's available in white and silver, which the iPhone 5 was. And then there were 2 new colors. You may hear a lot of press talking about the new gold color. There's a new third color. There's actually 2 new colors. They've gotten rid of the black and slate, which was the, like you'd have the black face and the black glass on back, and then the metal was a slate black color, so it looked like black on black. Now it's space gray, so it's same black face and black glass there, but now it's a gray instead of the black, so it's a 2-tone darker iPhone. Then they have the white and silver, which is what this was before I got it colored, white and silver, and now there's also the white and gold. So instead of silver, you have like a lightish, champagne-ish gold color as well. So 2 new colors on the iPhone 5S line. Now the big feature everyone's talking about is Touch ID. That's where Apple has introduced a fingerprint sensor into the home button here. And the way that works is there is a fingerprint reader underneath the home button, and then it's covered by sapphire on the top to keep it from scratching. It's one of the hardest materials in the world. So you pretty much just tap, you don't have to push down, you just place your finger, your thumb, whatever finger it is you choose, or multiple fingers if you want to. They can save multiple fingerprint profiles. Just place your finger on there and it'll unlock your phone. You don't have to slide to unlock, you don't have to enter a 4-digit code. Most people don't have 4-digit codes, which is not actually very secure. So with Touch ID, it allows you to use your fingerprint as your code. It's a key you always have with you, as long as you don't lose your finger. Now, another thing you can use Touch ID for, aside from getting into your device, is to actually make iTunes purchases. So if you want to download something from the App Store, the movies, books, TV shows, any of that content that Apple offers through iTunes, you, again, once it comes up, it'll ask you for your password, or you can just simply use your Touch ID, your fingerprint, to authenticate the purchase. So it's more security for your phone, and also a little bit, it's more convenient. Who wants to type in a password? And now you have the most complex password of all. It's not a password anyone else can guess because it's your unique fingerprint. Now, interestingly enough, the Apple A7 processor that you're going to find in the iPhone 5S is a 64-bit chip. Now, that's a first for a smartphone on the planet and anywhere. So iPhone 5S is the first smartphone with a 64-bit architecture that Apple says is desktop class architecture. And now there's also the M7 coprocessor. It basically offloads capturing data from the accelerometer, the compass, and the gyroscope. So it's basically a motion coprocessor that offloads all the data from the A7 processor, as you know, previously it was the main processor that has to capture all that, and it sucks up way more battery. Now the coprocessor is handling all that data, and then it can make it available to any app that needs it at any time, that of course that you give permission to. It can tell if you're in a moving vehicle, if you're stationary, if you're walking, if you're jogging, if you're biking. All that stuff is now stored and captured by the M7 coprocessor. So it's almost like, you know, in a way to simplify it, it's like having a Fitbit built into your iPhone, which is cool and unique, and saves you a little money as well. Now, the other big upgrade in the iPhone 5S is the camera. Now, I don't know if it's going to be as good as what I currently think is the best camera on a smartphone, the Nokia Lumia 1020. I love that camera, but it is bulky. Like the camera affects the shape of that phone because it's so, you know, it's pretty much like a real camera. It's a 41 megapixel large sensor camera. The new iSight camera on the iPhone 5S, let's go through this. Larger sensor, larger pixels, larger aperture. 15% larger sensor, bigger pixels that are now measured at 1.5 microns, and an aperture of f/2.2. All that means is that the iPhone is capturing more light. So we're going to get clearer, sharper images and much improved low light performance. Continuous burst mode. Now you can hold down the shutter key and the iPhone will continue taking pictures until you release it. The iPhone will then analyze all those. They'll check for, you know, eyes, check for smiling, check for blinking, check for if it's an action shot. What are the pictures that you most likely will think are best and want to keep, and it'll present those to you right away. And then you can also flip through the rest of them, but it'll present you the ones it thinks are best, and you can easily choose the ones you want to save, and then in one fell swoop get rid of all the rest. True Tone Flash. Now this is interesting. Here on the iPhone 5, we've got one flash right there. 5S has two flash. One is a white LED, which is what we find on the 5S, and another one is an amber LED, which is a warmer color. And using these two in conjunction with each other, the iPhone will take a look at the scene. Where are we? What is the lighting condition in here? And it'll use the two different temperatures of those flashes, and it can do a unique combination. They have 1,000 unique combinations of using those two flashes to try and match and optimize the flash for the lighting environment that you're in. Slow motion video, that's another big one. At 720p, the iPhone 5S will record at 120 frames per second, and that allows you to do super slow motion video. So you can save and play back any section or the whole video at 25% of the speed without losing any quality. It'll look buttery smooth, it'll look just as smooth as regular video, but it'll be super slow-mo, built right into the 5S. Live video zoom, now when you're taking a video you can zoom in and out. So that is the iPhone 5S. Now my personal opinion, which a few of you were asking me over on Twitter, at Andrew Edwards, if you're not following me over there. For my opinion, what should you do? What should you get the iPhone 5C? Should you get the iPhone 5S? Should you stick with your current model? Here's what I think. If you are on an iPhone 4S or earlier, the iPhone 5S is a great upgrade. It starts at $199. You get all those new features we just talked about, the Touch ID, the vastly improved camera. Especially if you're on a 4S or earlier, this camera is going to be night and day better than what you have now. 64-bit architecture, that's more of a future-proofing kind of thing. I don't know that we're going to see too much of that used now. I'm sure a lot of it is being used for the optics at the moment. And that M7 coprocessor, if you're into fitness, again, very cool. All that said, if you're on an iPhone 5, forget about the 5C. There's no reason for you to go from a 5 to a 5C unless you just want to spend $100 to get essentially the same phone with a new plastic case. I mean, a $99 upgrade, or side grade if you will, gets you a more colorful case if that's your thing. If you have an iPhone 5 and you don't feel like you're in a rush to upgrade, no reason to go with the iPhone 5S. I don't know that it's compelling enough for the average consumer to spend the money, especially mid-contract. If you're in a contract, you don't need to pay because there's no more early upgrades unless you're on one of those new upgrade whenever you want plans. I don't know that it's worth it to go from a 5 to a 5S. Definitely, I don't see why anyone would want to go from a 5 to a 5C. Any iPhone that's earlier than that, though, on a 4S, you want to go with a 5S, I'd say. You know, you could go with a 5C if you're more budget conscious. If you're buying for a young adult or teen, maybe get them the 5C. They probably won't care about those newer features. You know, the iPhone, at this point, what Apple has done with the iPhone is they've kind of drawn a line in the sand. The similar way that they've done with their other products. They've got the MacBook Air for the average consumer, and they've got the MacBook Pro and the Retina Pro for the prosumer, the people that, you know, really are into specs and techies and have a real need for those devices. But for the average person, the MacBook Air is just fine. With their desktops, you've got the iMac and you've got the Mac Pro. Now the Mac Pro has been neglected for a few years, but they're about to release a new Mac Pro this fall. It's not a product that the average consumer is going to want to pay for or even needs. The iMac serves that just fine. Here with the iPhone, what Apple has done with two new products, even if one of the products has older last year technology in it, as far as marketing goes, it's a new product. They've made the phone for the everyman, the iPhone 5C, and they've made the phone for the people that care about specs and want that more performance. And you know, if you're buying a 5S, it's because you care about technology and all the things you can do with your phone, and not just, hey, I want a cool iPhone. So if you're a techie, of course you're going to want that 5S. If you're an Apple, you know, if you want to buy an Apple phone, I'm sure a lot of techies out there would rather go with Android, some of them Windows Phone, especially if you work at Microsoft. But those are my thoughts. 5C is going to be the phone that, you know, if you're elderly, if you don't care about, you know, smartphone features all that much and you care more about just style and having an iPhone, teens and tweens and young adults, that's what the 5C is for. If you're more into technology, if you definitely want a great camera on your iPhone, you want that 5S. If you want the Touch ID, if you work for a place where security is a big deal, you want to use that fingerprint sensor, iPhone 5S for you there as well. But that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you're buying. Are you getting one of the two new iPhones? Hit me up on Twitter, twitter.com/Andrew Edwards, or Facebook, facebook.com/Andrew, or right here on YouTube. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you're doing, and I'll try to pick through those comments and do a follow-up video and see what you guys are going to be deciding to do. Let me know. Do the new iPhones have you considering switching your platform operating system? If you're a current iPhone owner, are you upgrading? What are you buying? What color are you getting? For me personally, I'm a 64 gigabyte guy. I'm getting the iPhone 5S 64 gig. I think the perfect phone to get for anyone out there is going to be the 32 gigabyte iPhone 5S. That's my recommendation for the best phone out of all the phones listed for the average person. Me personally, I keep a lot of stuff on my phone. I have over 500 apps on there, so I need that 64 gigs and a lot of pictures as well. I love taking pictures, so I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that iPhone 5S camera. That's it, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm Andrew Edwards. This is GearLive.com's Bleeding Edge TV. Leave us a comment. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Helps us out, and it lets you know when we put up new content, which we do on a regular basis. And as always, please hit that like button if you like the discussion that we had here. It helps us out more than you know. Until next time, I'm Andrew Edwards. Stay tuned for more tech news through the eyes of GearLive.com.